Welcome to Camera Shake Podcast, episode 113. The podcast where we talk about photography, videography, and anything that's got anything to do with any of that, with me, Kersten and Nick Kirby. And of course, if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, then be reminded that there is a fully fledged, fully technicolored video version available over on YouTube. And as always, once you're there, if you are watching us on YouTube, then, hit the little bell, hit the like and the subscribe button, because that will help us out a lot. If you happen to listen on audio, of course, just leave us a little comment. It's always good to see where you are when you're listening to this, because, we'd really like to know. So, send us a message, send a pigeon, all that kind of stuff. So that'd be fantastic. So where are you when you're listening to this? That's what we want to know. So get in touch. Anyway, to cut a long story short, it's bloody hot.
No. My back is dripping.
Yes, so it's mine.
All right. It's maybe not quite that bad, but yeah, it's very, very warm. Very, very warm.
Yeah.
So as we recorded, I think it's been like 32 degrees here, which in other countries is fine, but...
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, in general, 30 degrees and stuff, that's, what is that, 95 Fahrenheit, something like that, 96?
Something like that.
100, whatever, something like that. Anyway, it's usually fine if you live in air-conditioned environments, not a problem. But over here in the UK, well, houses don't have aircon. So either you spend a day in the car, which sounds like a good idea, or you just...
Not at today's petrol prices.
Well, or you just sweat it out. That's what we do. So if I look a bit shiny, that's why.
Super shiny.
Yeah. Luckily, this isn't smell-o-vision. Smell-o-tube.
Nice.
Yeah, it's is quite hot. It's quite hot. But
yeah, rather unpleasant, and it's only going to get hotter.
Apparently, it is. Yeah, wait a minute.
They're suggesting that next week or Sunday, Monday, whatever it is, has the potential to be the hottest day on record for Britain.
Yeah, which, for other countries is sort of what summer is like. It's called summer.
Yes.
With the hottest, I think, what is it? Was it the hottest temperature ever measured? Something like 32 degrees or something like that, or 33, something like that?
No, like 38.
Oh, right, okay. Well, that is hot. Yeah, that's hot.
It is hot. That's very, very hot. So yeah, there's a shot. It probably won't, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's supposed to hit 40 degrees in the south of Germany. I spoke to my mom earlier, so they're looking forward to that. And that's kind of, that's not fun anymore at that point.
And on that Monday, which is the day it will hit properly, I'm teaching kids all day.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that going to be fantastic?
Well, hopefully there's aircon available there.
No.
Hey, that's a crazy thing, actually. Not even schools are air-conditioned here.
No.
It's nuts.
No. Crazy. Oh, well, there you go.
Although with today's energy prices, I think even if they were air-conditioned, they would have to turn the aircon off because nobody can afford to keep it running anymore.
Totally true.
So, yeah, man, it is hot. It's hot. I'm in a slightly different environment today. I'm actually in my little shooting space, my little studio space today, because I've literally just finished a headshot session. So, I had a client this evening. So, just finished that.
I really hope that's what it looked like when they were there as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. Yeah, yeah. That's literally
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small space. You don't need lots of stuff to make it look cluttered.
Yes, it's true. Don't I know yet.
So yeah, it was a good session though, man. It was good. I shot everything from really interesting full-length portrait, which I thought with this one, I gave it a little behind-the-scenes kind of look. So that was quite interesting.
So you could see the bottom of the roll, the floor, things like that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
nice.
so
I like those shots.
Yeah, you see the background, you see the strip box in the background, stuff like that. So, so it was really fun. And then, it's basically one of these portfolio shoots. So when you have a new actor who hasn't got anything, then typically do sort of a portfolio shoot where I go through different looks, so that they have a variety, variety of shots to use to start with. And then from there on in, they can always build their portfolio afterwards. But, so yeah, that was a fun thing. It's a late afternoon session, so it was all right. Luckily, it wasn't like at midday because that would have been sweltering.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And your space can get quite hot, can't it?
Well, I've got everything. I had everything blocked off from this morning. So, everything, all the windows are, all the curtains have been down and, I've made sure that I've kept it as cool as possible. But, there's only so much you can do, really.
Yeah, there is.
I've had a fan going, so that was all right.
Like a groupie outside, or
always. They literally queue. They queue out of my door, round the block. Yeah. Of course they do. What else?
Sorry, lager is required right now.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Should we hear that sound? Let's hear that sound. Hold on. Here we go. Oh,
nice.
That's a bit of ASMR for you.
So our listeners are right there with us, having a drink.
Good.
Excellent. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, it's been busy. It's been the second headshot session in a couple of days, so it's been good. But yeah, man.
I'm going to sit here and just fan my shirt. That's all I'm going to do. Anyway.
So how's it been for you?
It's been relatively quiet actually this week. I haven't actually done a huge amount. I know how that sounds, but I haven't done a huge amount. I've actually been messing around with the C70 a little bit and the R6 to what's the best way to describe it? Like to do what I can to match the images up as closely as possible in camera. So on the the C70, I keep that where it just is, and it always is. But I try to adjust some of the settings on the R6 to get the pictures slightly closer to begin with. And I did that. Literally, I just put like the color checker card on my table, stuck a light on it. It was just a little LED panel, and just set it up. And then using that, try to adjust the R6 to get things as close. You're not going to get the same because they're just different. Yeah. What is good is that a little while ago, the R6 firmware update had cinema gamut in it, which is what the C70 uses as well. So that's actually helped bring them closer anyway. So I was just playing around with that a bit. And while I was doing that, so I typically, as I think we looked at last week, maybe the week before, typically use the X-Rite Video Passport, which is fantastic. And it dawned on me that, and I've thought this multiple times before, I thought this is incredibly useful. It's tiny. It goes in your pocket when you're walking around. Super handy if you're doing a run and gun style shoot. But I find it too small at times to do what I want. So I actually invested this week in the larger version.
All right. Okay, cool. Right.
Which is this. So it's basically identical. It's got one additional large grey chip on it. And I use that. And then on the back, it's got the old white balance, same as the Passport. Now, what is interesting, bear in mind this is brand new. Bear in mind that the Video Passport is not brand new. It's quite old. This particular one's probably 2 or 3 years old now. Yeah. And it is the version by X-Rite before they were bought out by, hold on, I'll tell you exact, Calibrate. And I did a little test on them. Okay. Just on the white balance card. And they're different, which I found a little odd. So I'm going to put it down to the fact that the the Passport version is old. It's probably slightly worn out, a bit dirty, and it gives a different result when you're setting a custom white balance compared to the new one. Not a lot, but enough. Yeah, so it dawned on me. So I got that, and does what it says. It's great. It's it's flexible. So right now I'm going to use it as a fan. Yeah, and that is lovely. That's really, really nice. Yeah, there you go. So that's one of the things that I've been doing this week. Bit very boring, but very valuable.
Right, so here's a little project that I've got planned for the next few days. Do you want to know what it is?
Now, I could actually guess, or I could tell everybody watching and listening that we're having to re-record this section because we had a technical glitch over at Kay's end.
Yeah.
With the audio. So, yeah, let me guess. Oh, I don't know, Kay. You tell me. What project are you working on?
Well, it's all got to do with Apple boxes.
Oh,
what a surprise.
Why didn't I guess that?
I know. So, Apple boxes. Well, first of all, what's an Apple box? An Apple box is basically a box that is like a multifunctional tool in any studio. So, filmmakers have been using this since the beginning of the 20th century, I guess. And really photographers, found this extremely useful. So it's basically a box. And you might think, well, how is that of any use? But Apple boxes are useful because not only can you put stuff on them, you can step on them, you can build things out of them. You can make tables, you can make platforms, you can make steps, you can use them to place your model on. In fact, I remember in the older days in filmmaking, they call them the man maker. So if you have two actors and one is considerably shorter than the other, they just put one on an Apple box and you even out the height and turn somebody into a man.
I assume Tom Cruise uses these all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So Apple boxes are, really useful. Just to give you a quick example, I shot a child actor the other day, and he was 9 years old or something, and of course he was rather short. So in order for me to position the background light, behind him, I had a real issue because I have a really small stand, but that was too small and the light was too low. But actually, just putting it on a regular light stand was too high. So I had to find something to put the small stand on top of so that I could even out the height. And again, Apple box. First thing you grab, and it's super useful. You see these a lot, by the way, in portrait shots, by the way. So, you very often have a model sitting on them, or, you use them to put your foot on, so you use them as props basically in photographs a lot. But typically, they look a little bit more rustic than this brand new thing. So this is a Matthews Apple box. It's brand new. It's nice and shiny. And my project for next week is going to be to rustify this thing. I'm going to make this look really old and rustic.
I've never seen anything so clean.
Yeah, this is a little too clean, isn't it?
It's uncomfortably clean.
Yeah, and one of the biggest problems with that, of course, is if you place this in a photograph as a prop. As we all know, of course, the eye is always going to be attracted to the brightest thing in the shot, and this is really too bright. And you don't really want it to sort of gain any attention. You don't want to draw the attention of the viewer to the Apple box. It's just supposed to be a prop that's a part of the picture. So it makes sense to just tone this down a little bit, and to just make it look a little bit old and rustic and darken it and stuff like that. So I've got some ideas as to how I'm going to do that. And I think I'm going to make a little video about that so that our viewers and listeners can follow along and maybe get some ideas as to how to make something look old and rusty. Rustic.
You can only do that if we get to still see all the injuries you're going to cause yourself.
Likely. Absolutely.
Definite.
Likely. Yeah, with my DIY skills, that shouldn't be surprising. But I've got some ideas as to what I'm going to do. It's going to
DIY for you is don't injure yourself.
Yeah, it's going to include it's going to involve some brute force, I think. But I've always been attracted to Apple Box. It's a really weird thing. It's just a little prop, a little thing that you find in most studios. But there's some funny historical things about this. So these things have been around since the early days of filmmaking, just because they are so practical, and they're basically standardized in size. And so they come in as full size. So this, the thing that I'm holding up right now, that's a full size Apple Box by a company called Matthews. And And then you get them in half size, called half apple box, in quarter size, and in an eighth size, which is usually known as a pancake. And, traditionally, if you're basically, on a movie set, usually it'd be the grip who would be handling the apple boxes, and the director would say, move this apple box over there, or place it over here, or whatever. And then the question is, like, how do you put it down? Do you put it down like this, on the short end, so it points up like a skyscraper, or do you put it on the sides like that, or do you put it with the broadside down? You could orientate it in any which way. So there's been there's some terminology that's been developed traditionally to clarify all of that. And this is the thing that always amuses me. So if you put it up tall like this, that's called New York. So it looks like a skyscraper. Yeah. If you put it on its side, that's known as the Chicago.
Obviously.
Sometimes known as the Texas, but usually the Chicago. And then if you put it on the broadside down, so it's pretty much flat, that's known as the LA. So if somebody says, like, right, put the apple box there, New York, you know what to do. Make sense?
Yeah.
This is a funny little fact that always amuses me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so apple boxes, super useful things. I highly recommend, anybody who's into portrait photography to get hold of one of those, one or multiple of those. They used to, in the olden days, I've seen some versions that open up, and in the olden days they used to use those as storage boxes. So you'd basically just store lots of your little bits and bobs in there. In fact, the reason why they're called apple boxes, actually, as far as I know anyway, doesn't really have anything to do with storing apples in them. It's got to do with the fact that they come in different sizes, and you just imagine it to be like an apple. A full apple is a full size. You slice it in half. It's half the size, so you get half an apple. And then you half that again, you get a quarter of an apple. And then, you half that again, you get an eighth of an apple. And again, that's just known as a pancake. So very useful thing. You can build sets out of them as well. You can, make little tables, or, like I said, little steps or whatever. Super useful, Yeah, they don't set you back a lot of money either. Although, well, it's in the UK, they're about this one, Matthew's full size apple box, about 66 quid at Wax. I guess still a lot of money. You could probably make them yourself.
Yeah, you probably could. If you got a little bit of woodworking skills, I think it's a huge amount to it. Which
I don't have, but let's see if I have the skill to destroy these suckers.
You will. You're going to be buying a new one.
Yeah. This is how it all went wrong. Oh, damn it.
So I've seen lots of these. So I go around antiques fairs every so often.
Okay.
Not so much last couple of years, but when I do, particularly the larger ones, there are lots of people who sell exactly those, but older ones that are battered.
Right.
And, rustic and whatever other word you want to put in there. And I usually do them very cheap. So they're worth, if you happen to be going to one of them, that kind of fair, keep an eye out. You might find a couple that you think, oh, that's cool.
Didn't you at one point buy and sell German glass or something like that?
German pottery.
Pottery, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Do you still do that?
I haven't done that for a while, but I tripled my money on it all.
There you go.
There you go. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Triple your money.
Exactly. Love it.
I've still got a couple of bits knocking about that I really like.
So if you take those ones that you still have knocking about into consideration, like overall, are you in the plus or in the minus? Are you in the black or in the red?
Well, very, very, very black.
Oh, excellent. Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, it's that's all good. There's all sorts of long stories behind that, which I won't go into now because it's very, very boring for you people out there. Very, very boring. Very, very boring.
Maybe one day we might do the same thing with old cameras, with old DSLR cameras, actually. Because who knows? Because the one bit of news that I've come across recently is the fact that Nikon have announced that they will not be continuing with their DSLR lines. So
Woohoo!
it's like, I mean, it shouldn't really be much of a surprise, I guess. But what they're saying is they are, well, okay, let's put it this way. A couple of months ago, Nikon announced that they're going to discontinue the D3500 and the D5600 line. So they're the consumer crop sensor DSLRs. And of course, they still have a few, semi-professional and professional DSLRs out there, namely the D780 and the D6 that came out only, I guess, a year and a half ago or something like that, maybe 2 years ago. I think the D780 came out in early 2020, if I remember correctly. And so they're still going to be continuing those, but they're not really going to put any effort into development the DSLR sector anymore at all. So what they're actually going to be doing is they're going to be focusing and concentrating entirely on mirrorless. So, which, again, that shouldn't really be surprising because we all know that that's where it's at. And strangely, Canon are still invested into the DSLRs. So, interesting little thing. I'm guessing that probably won't be far behind, though. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. And it'll be one of those, and in a few years' time, hey, we're going to make one more DSLR for you. Bring back a bit of nostalgia.
Yeah. It's going to be the nostalgia train.
It's going to happen. They'll reissue at one of them or whatever it might be. They'll do something like that. Because it's one of those things which people look for, and what I mean by that is, today we still kind of look back at film cameras as they produce a particular quality that we all like. Film cameras are going further and further and further away. Now DSLRs are going away and we're moving to mirrorless. Now we're going to start looking back at DSLRs like, oh yeah, they've got a certain quality that we really, really like that mirrorless doesn't. So, error number 2 of the day is... Well, no. We've got 2 additional errors recording this episode in one go right now.
We've never had this many technical issues on any episode ever, even since the first one.
So we're talking to each other over Zoom right now, but recording ourselves separately.
Yeah.
And Zoom just conked out for no apparent reason at your end, and it just kicked you out of the meeting.
No reason whatsoever.
And then at the same time, your D750 had an error message pop up too. So we've had an audio issue recording, we've had a D750 mirror issue, and we've had a Zoom issue all in one set. The world is trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
I think it's saying, this is what it's saying, Kay. It's saying, stop using a DSLR and get a proper camera.
Yeah, it's probably
That's one thing. That's one thing it's saying.
Yeah.
It's also saying, stop using GarageBand and buy some proper software.
Yeah, we'll have to have a chat about that actually. Yeah, we do. Yeah, because if you recall a few episodes ago, I talked about my issues with Logic, which I'm still really quite upset about. Actually, I'm still really quite miffed about that.
That's annoying. It's unacceptable. Actually,
it really, really bloody is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so GarageBand. I mean, normally it works fine. I have no idea what is happening here. It seemed like it was recording, but it was just the waveform just went like a dead heartbeat.
Yeah,
totally bizarre. And it works fine now. Yeah. Then Zoom conks out, and then my camera has a mirror issue. Oh my god! See, mirrorless. That's why you want to go mirrorless. None of these mechanical problems.
All of that being said, I did pick up your D750 a couple of weeks ago. I did take a couple of shots through it, just like quick snaps. Wasn't even really paying attention. I was just snapping away for fun. And I loved it. I loved it. Because I was getting, I felt like connected to that picture that I was taking. Yeah. And I don't get that with a mirrorless camera at the moment. Or probably more specifically is that I don't get it with the R6. and I have my own little peeves with the R6 at the moment.
Right.
With the way with how the images look, and how they feel when I'm taking it, and I'm not sold on it still. And it's a great camera, it's a fantastic camera, and I think for most people out there, it's going to be, you'll feel fantastic using it, but for whatever reason, there's something about it that I don't connect with, and it's bugging me.
You know, the thing about the R6 is that, I mean, I've only ever actually used it for video.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever taken any stills on your. I don't remember. But so if you think about the R6 for video, it's been really quite useful and actually really quite an effective camera.
Oh, super camera! Yeah.
But your subscribe with it is really more on the stills front.
Exclusively on the stills front. Yeah. I have my own little peeves with how the video image looks on it, but that's mostly because I've got the luxury of having a C70 as well. It's only when you put them side by side it becomes apparent the differences, and that becomes difficult, which is why, as I was saying a little earlier, why I wanted to try and balance those images a little bit better in camera.
Yeah.
But when you're not, and you're just using that, and it's fine, it's great. The image is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's always, it comes back to our first episode, done is better than perfect, I think, in some instances. I thought about this, when a few weeks ago when I recorded an episode on my own, and, it had to be, there was no time really to do anything elaborate, and it had to be super quick. And so I really just used the built-in webcam in my iMac. And of course, I mean, it worked, for what it was worth. It was better than nothing, basically. It was done is better than perfect was the motto in that. And it was it's a super easy, super quick way of recording something. Of course, it doesn't, but I mean, obviously, when you think of it from a visual perspective and you compare it to what we've recorded in the past, of course it's not. It's nowhere near any of that. But at the time, for this particular purpose, it was definitely better than not doing anything. So, so from that perspective, it worked quite well. I wouldn't want to, use the webcam to record these sort of episodes in the future, obviously.
And we did a couple of episodes where, when you were in Germany, stuck there.
Yes, correct.
We decided that we'd just do webcam style and just get it done, right? And I used the webcam built in on my iMac, on my MacBook.
Oh yeah, correct.
And it was fine.
Yeah,
it was all right. As soon as you took the light away, the key light that I put on myself, it was shockingly bad. It cannot handle any kind of low light situation at all, which I guess is understandable, right? But as soon as that light went on, it looked great.
So, I mean,
for a webcam.
We may have to do that again, of course, more or less, because I'm about to go to Germany in a few weeks' time, again.
Oh, yeah.
So, but this time, I've already been thinking about how I can, pack light and enhance the production value of those episodes.
Can you capture the Fuji as a webcam on your laptop?
No, you can't capture it as a webcam, but I can, of course, record, externally, just like I do on the with the D750 now. The only difference is going to be that the maximum recording time is 12 minutes, I think, on it, or something like that, or 15 minutes.
I refuse. Sorry.
Something like that. I mean, it may very well be that I take my D750 with me to Germany. I might do. I don't know.
Well, that I know you can connect as a webcam.
No, the D750 you can't. I think it's from the D850 onwards.
You can with. I know someone that does do it with the D7200.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which is the crop. You must be able to now with the 750.
Okay, if there's like sort of an extra device that you can put in the middle, then yeah, you can probably.
I mean, you can get capture cards for.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. If you had a
20 quid, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I would do that. That's well handy. And the image will be, it's still a zoom image. Maybe we don't even record ourselves. We would just record the zoom. And that's that, which is what we did before, I think, if I remember.
That's what
rightly.
we did, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's fine.
We could, could do. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Just, while we're talking about all of that, it's probably worth mentioning audio and how, let's just say, the Video Mic Go Pro 2. Is that what they call it?
The Video Mic Go 2, yeah.
Video Mic Go 2, yeah, I always get the name wrong. I think the upshot is, now having used it in a couple of scenarios, a couple of 3 different scenarios, is using it in this circumstance that we're doing right now, so I can hear your Zoom audio, but you're recording your audio separately with a different mic.
Yeah.
Is perfect.
Yes.
It really, really, really enhances the audio for Zoom.
Yeah. So
however, go on.
Well, we realized that at the beginning of this Zoom call actually was that the built-in mic in my MacBook Pro really didn't actually sound that great. And the minute I plugged in the Video Mic Go 2, it really enhanced the sound quality. And of course, what you're seeing, if you're watching the YouTube version of this, by the way, what you're seeing in front of me is of course the actual mic that I'm recording the audio with, that you are listening to. But for the purpose of the conversation that Nick and me are having via Zoom, that's recorded with a separate mic, which if you want to know, if you're watching this on YouTube, I can hold it up here. So that's, as you can see, the Rode Video Mic Go 2, and it's on a little tripod and just simply sits on my laptop, basically.
Wherever you want, right? And, if you've got that nice and close to you, like in a normal Zoom call, you just have it close. It's fine. It sounds really good for that scenario.
Yeah.
What it's not so good at is producing polished audio that we would want for a podcast. I was disappointed with the sound quality that it came up with. Now, that being said, that's partly because we're a bit spoiled with some of the mic selections that we have, right?
Absolutely.
So in lots of instances, the Video Mic 2 might be quite an upgrade and will actually sound really quite good.
Yeah, I think you always have to bear in mind that it's, if your starting point is really low, like for instance, the mic, the built-in mic in my 2012 MacBook Pro, that is basically, that sounds, you can have a Zoom, you can have a Zoom conversation on it. It's not a problem. It's fine for that. But of course, using an external mic like the Video Mic Go 2, that will be a massive enhancement in terms of sound already. So it will sound better. Is it going to sound as good as a studio mic? Well, no, it won't. And of course, when I did the solo episode a few weeks ago, I used the Video Mic Go 2 for the main audio for that. And the thing was, when I was listening back to it, it seemed like here's the funny thing. When I listened to the YouTube version of it, I actually thought, okay, well, yeah, the sound's acceptable. Of course it's not as good as any other mic, but it was acceptable. But when I listened to the audio podcast, I really thought, well, no, it's not actually. It's really not going to cut it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's because when you're watching the YouTube video, of course, part of your senses are taking in the imagery, and so you're maybe a little bit more forgiving when it comes to the audio, or because you're seeing the image as well, so it makes sense. But when you're in the car, or I was in the car anyway, when I was listening, I was sort of checking the audio version of it. I immediately thought, no, it's not. That doesn't sound as good as our other episodes. It was a marked difference, in my head. So I kind of thought, well, okay. So if I ever do this again, because of course this was like a bit of an experiment, but if we were ever in a situation where I had to do that again, then I would definitely go through the effort of using a different mic and running that through like GarageBand or whatever else. Just because obviously from an audio perspective, for those listeners listening to the audio version of this, it really does make a difference as to whether I'm talking into a webcam or not. All they're hearing is actually just the audio, So that really does make a difference whether we're using like mirrorless cameras or a C70 or whatever, or webcam to record the image, because it doesn't apply. So I mean, it's an interesting thing. So if you did, maybe just we just asked the question, if you did listen to that episode, I can't remember, was it episode 110 maybe or something like that?
Something like that.
A few weeks ago, I was talking about whether hobby photographers should charge for their work. I think that was the episode. If you've listened to that, did you notice a difference in the audio quality? Did it annoy you? Did you not notice it at all? Let me know, because again, from our perspective, that's really that'd be well worth knowing. But with all the technical issues that we've had regarding this episode, I'd be surprised if we make it through to the end.
Yeah. And the other thing is if you did notice a difference, do you even care?
Yeah. Did it?
Do you care?
Exactly. That's the thing. I mean, I always think it's quite amusing when you look back to like early episodes, like the first 10 episodes or something, when we didn't really know, but we did the best that we could at the time, but we didn't really know what we were doing. And they sound and look, of course, completely different to what things sound like now.
I've thought back on this a few times because our general skills over everything is obviously improved, as everybody's does, day by day, week on week, year on year. But I think we were more focused on the content that we were doing rather than, we thought, right, that's good enough for the picture, that's good enough for the audio. What are we actually talking about? What are we trying to convey? And really focused on not shitting ourselves talking in front of a camera when we're so used to being behind it, right?
Yeah,
it's that I think we were so focused on doing that stuff that the rest of it was secondary, because ultimately the most important thing about all of this has to be what's being spoken about. It has to be. Image and audio has to come second to that. Secondary for me is still audio quality. And the third will always be the picture. And that's my kind of the priority order, if you like, of what we do.
Yeah, and I think the truth of it is, of course, us this being a podcast, of course, the vast majority of listeners are listening to the audio version. You can see that if you compare. I mean, we can see that if you compare the statistics, for example.
The thing is that your eyes are more forgiving. Your ears do get used to sounds and the way something sounds, but your eyes also get used to the way something looks, but they do it far quicker than your ears do.
Yeah.
Far, far quicker. And so if the audio's crap and it doesn't sound great and you sound really distant or, like loads of room sound in there, then you're not going to enjoy that. Whereas if the image, even if the images are a bit blurry or the image is not well lit, but you're there, which is why you can still get away with doing a phone video, then you'll be all right with that. You'll still get away with it fine because the audio quality is still good.
Yeah.
That's why for me it has to go in order: content, audio, video. If you nail them all, winner. But if you have to let something go, let the video go. Yeah, I mean, if you have to let two things go, let the audio go.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always try and we've been over the last couple of years or something. We've always tried to do two things. First of all, we always try to kind of make something look better and improve it somehow. But also at the same time, we've been trying to streamline it. Because you
difficult to do both, right?
That's right. But we've always sort of tried and do that to an extent. I remember there was a point where we got to the point where we liked the look of what we were doing, but we had 3 cameras and 5 lights.
That's right.
Something like that at one point, or maybe even more than 5 lights. So even just setting up took an hour. Do you remember? And breaking everything down, took another 45 minutes or whatever. And so the whole thing just all of a sudden became, much more of an act than it was intended. And the benefits were sort of margin. It's this sort of 80-20 rule. You put 80% of the effort in, but you only really gain 20% at the end of it.
Yeah.
And so, we that's when we switched sets, for example. We thought like, well, can we do this and get something that looks even better with just one camera rather than three? Because it means
one camera, two lights actually, but
yeah. But yeah, exactly. So, so it was, because the thing is like the minute you film with three cameras, not only do you have to set them up and, make sure they're running and, double check and all that kind of stuff. But also, of course, then at the end of it, you've got to edit everything.
Yep. So I want to stress quite how important a background light is. So that we've got the Aperture 300D here. This is what, so I'm on our typical set, right? And right now it's just an LED behind me with today a pink gel. But often we'd have one overside, one pink, one blue, just for fun. And previous to that, we'd have just blue. Yeah. And for whatever reason today, I've decided to go pink because I think it was the light I opened first. So I'm just going to turn it off and you're going to see how crap it looks in here without any kind of background light. That's what it looks like with no background light. Now,
wow.
I could edit this and make it look decent, I'm sure, and just really dark behind me. Turn those lights off. Just have this one light on, which is gridded, by the way. Perhaps, probably increase the key light a little bit more. Bring down the ISO a little bit more so that the background gets even darker. And then we're just in this little, you know what? We're going to try that next time. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make that as dark as possible behind. We're going to make us look good here.
Ooh, okay.
And we're going to go for something like that.
Oh, interesting. Anyway, yeah.
I'm going to put the pink light back on.
Let's go for a dark look. So if you want to follow that, of course, if you are listening to the audio version of this, then you're going to have to go over to YouTube and check it out. And whilst you're there, why don't you just hit the like and subscribe button, hit the little bell so you're notified whenever we put out new videos. Obviously.
There we go.
Brilliant. So now you're
Fun
back
times, eh?
Now you're back in the studio, whilst previously, of course, you were just in your living room. How weird.
Exactly right.
Literally traveled.
Exactly right.
Through space and time.
Yeah. All right, Kirk.
Oh, I've been watching lots of Star Trek recently, by the way.
Have you?
Just say, oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Has to be done. All right. Cool. Well, I think
I don't care. This episode is going to be really short, but we've had to restart and redo stuff so many times. I haven't got any more energy, and I'm run out of time as well.
Three times, I think. We're just stop and start. Unbelievable.
Oh,
unbelievable.
So apologies. But there you go.
Yeah, I think
it happens.
I think this episode will be entitled "Technical Difficulties."
Yeah,
I think that's what this is going to be.
Smashed it.
Anyway, so I think we have truly before my camera conks out completely and everything breaks. Let's wrap this up. We've come to the end of episode 113 of the Camera Shake podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope Nick managed to cut something together that sort of halfway makes sense.
I'm just going to put the errors in.
Yeah,
with me like this, I'm like this in half this of what we've recorded today.
You should just film a blank plate that you could put in and just loop like a 10-second blank. You just loop it. Anyway, let us know what you thought of this episode. Did it make sense to you in the end? Yeah.
And I'm going to apologize now if there's duplicate parts in there because I haven't cut it together very well.
Oh man. Anyway, we will be back next week with Camera Shake podcast 114. Hopefully in a slightly different setting, and hopefully maybe it's the heat, man. Maybe it's the heat wave that makes all the technology conk out. I don't know what it is.
Could be.
It could be. Yeah. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm surprised, and actually, no, maybe I'm not surprised that we made it through to the end, because that just goes to show how professional we really are. We won't give up. That's it.
Yeah, professional.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, then. So hopefully see you next week. Tune back in next Thursday. We'll be back next week.
See you later.